Hey friends, welcome back to the Homestead. I feel rather terrible right now. But hey, it's all good, right? So Monday, late evening, I started getting the sniffles and a little scratchy throat, then started running a low-grade fever. And as you may well know, that's not a good sign these days. It's with the holidays coming up and Thanksgiving, my wife and I thought it prudent for me to go and get tested for some Chinese manufactured virus. And so Tuesday morning, first thing, I went down to our local county health department and got tested. My goodness, that is a horrible, horrible test. I mean, you're already feeling bad, and then they just gotta kick a man when he's down. I mean, they shoved that little swab right up in my brain. I think I lost memories of all of 6th grade. Yeah, I can't remember anything from 6th grade after that. It's really strange. But anyways, so we got some results back, and it is confirmed that I do not have the China virus. Nope, it's much, much worse than that. I have the man cold. Yes, the dreaded and deadly man cold. So I might not make it to Thanksgiving. In fact, this might be my last video that I'm able to record. I might just die a slow and agonizing death from the cold. Runny nose, coughing, feeling miserable, turning into a little whiny baby. Those are all symptoms of the man cold. You women, you should be thankful that you don't have to suffer as we men do when it comes to these kind of viruses. And I am concerned that this may be my last hurrah. Anyway, I digress. No, I'm actually starting to feel a little bit better. Yesterday was probably the worst of it. Now it's just kind of lingering around. My nose was running like a sieve yesterday. It was a mess. So that's why you keep the handkerchief around close by. But anyway, so no, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. Hopefully all this should have run its course. Maybe another couple days and I'll be feeling right as rain. So looking forward to that. But yeah, this is Thanksgiving's coming up. It is one of my favorite holidays. And it's not just because of the food. I've always been intrigued by the story of the Pilgrims and their plight in life, the things that they had to go through, the efforts that they went to establishing a community that they could, be able to worship freely in the way that they wanted to. They were a sect of Christianity called the Puritans, and they in the Church of England pretty much looked down upon them, persecuted them, so they kind of floated from town to town. And finally they decided that they would move to the New World and establish a new colony in northern Virginia. And so on their trip over, they got caught up in a terrible storm and got blown off course. And as you well know, they ended up finding themselves much further north than they expected, all the way up in Massachusetts, in a little place called Cape Cod. And they knew exactly where they were. They knew exactly that they were not in the intended place, and they knew that there was no governing country and no established laws that they could find themselves under. And so instead of packing things up and sailing back down to Virginia, they said, you know what, I think that this is exactly where God wanted us to be. And then left it at that. But the thing that's most intriguing to me about their story is that they didn't allow anarchy and free reign to rule their lives in this new land that they'd found themselves in. they knew and understood that mankind was established by God to live under law and to live under rule and to live under a certain expected level of cooperation with each other, so that they could live in a community. And that's kind of what it's all about. And so, you know, if I was in their shoes, I probably would have been the guy that said, hey, we don't have any bosses, let's jump off this boat and build a house. But no, in their wisdom, in their prudence, they said, you know what, we're not going to leave this boat until we've established some kind of understanding of what's expected. And so in came the Mayflower Compact. And this was a significant document. This was a significant document because these were a completely unrestrained people. And instead of living in an unrestrained way like barbarians, they established a rule of law and a rule of self-governance as the very first independent colony. And this was a big step. In fact, in the document, they even recognized their sovereignty, or their allegiance to their sovereignty and the king, but they established that they were going to make their own laws and they were going to govern themselves. Got a little printout and just like a little excerpt from it. It's not a very long document. It wasn't anything huge and, you know, multi-pages, but it established some expectations, and the meat of it, having undertaken for the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith and the honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, do by these presents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one another covenant and combine ourselves together into a civil body politic, for our better ordering and preservation and furtherance of the ends as foresaid. And by the virtue hereof do enact, constitute, and frames such just and equal laws, ordinances, acts, constitutions, and officers from time to time, as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony, unto which we promise all due submission and obedience. And every man on that boat signed that document, saying that they would live in accordance to the laws that they felt necessary to further the purpose of their goals, to establish the advancement of the Christian faith, to glorify God, to honor their king and country. So these were all the things that they were keeping in mind as far as how they were going to live their lives, what their purpose was, and they were going to establish laws that would further that purpose. And it really was an impactful and revolutionary way to think about the fact that, you know what, self-governance was a real thing. Self-governance was something that we could all benefit from. And they even said that, you know, they knew and understood that it was necessary for their colony's well-being and their colony's health and their colony's advancement to be able to establish these laws and to be self-governed. So, and they all signed that before they got off the boat. And then once they got off the boat, they lived by it. And so Thanksgiving is a celebration of the fact that, hey, this worked. Yes, there was hardship. Yes, there was hard times. Yes, it was the providence of God that helped to sustain them through the winter and allowed them to establish relationships with the native people in place. And that's some of the things that they were so thankful for. But this was a celebration that this risk, this experiment in political self-governance, this worked. And I just look at things today, and I look at the mindset of people today, and how that we want to get rid of laws, and to get rid of rule, and to establish, autonomous zones free of any kind of police enforcement of laws, and just let people run rampant. And that's kind of the antithesis of what this country and what its founders believed. They believed that law was a good thing and that we needed it to be able to further accomplish the goals of our ability to glorify God and establish and advance the Christian faith in this land. And so I want to encourage you guys that watch this, whether you believe in God or not, whether you have faith or not, to believe in the rule of law and to submit yourselves to that law, whether you believe in it is right, whether you believe that it is wrong. It's the law that we've placed ourselves under. We can change it in due course, and we can change it in due time if we don't believe that it is accurate or right, but we must first submit ourselves to it, and then we can work to make those changes. If we don't submit ourselves to it, if we don't find ourselves beholden to those laws, then we can't exactly expect others to respect the fact that we desire to change them. So so Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. It's my favorite holiday because it was a significant event in our nation's history, in our continent's history, in the history of the world, in how we would move forward. It's an interesting story. It's a fun story to know and to learn and to understand. And it's more than just a bunch of guys in funny hats showing up on the shoreline and meeting some Indians. It is a story about, self-governance, self-reliance, self-preservation, and the providence of God. Excuse me. So, so that's what I got for you. I've rambled on long enough. But so here's a question for you. What is your favorite holiday? Mine's Thanksgiving. What's your favorite holiday? And why is it your favorite holiday? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks so much.